They say a blade is only as good as the hand that wields it, but there are some blades so extraordinary that they seem to have a will of their own. Imagine holding a sword whose edge can slice through silk as it falls, cut a hair drifting on the breeze, or cleave cleanly through another sword without a nick on its own. A weapon that gleams like flowing water frozen in steel, its rippling patterns hypnotic, almost alive. This is not fantasy. This is Damascus steel. Its legend has traveled through centuries, from the scorching sands of the Middle East to the smoky forges of medieval Europe. Crusaders whispered about it in awe, merchants coveted it more than gold, and blacksmiths tried in vain to replicate it for generations. Damascus steel was not just a weapon. It was the embodiment of a lost art, and somewhere along the way, that art vanished. To understand how this marvel came to be, we have to go back to a time when war was not fought from a distance, when a man's life depended on the strength of his shield and the sharpness of his sword. The roots of Damascus steel stretch back over 1,000 years to the Near East, though its true beginnings are even older. The name Damascus often conjures images of the Syrian capital, bustling with spice markets and caravanserais. But here, the word might have two origins. Some say it refers to the city itself, a center for trade where these blades were bought and sold. Others point to the Arabic word damas, meaning watered, a nod to the wavy patterns in the steel's surface. Those patterns weren't just decoration. They were the fingerprint of a process so secret, so precise, that even today, we can only guess at its full truth. The real heart of Damascus steel lay far to the east, in the smelting crucibles of India and Sri Lanka. There, smiths produced a material known as Wootz steel, ingots of high-carbon steel made by melting iron with plant matter inside sealed clay crucibles. The organic materials released carbon, which infused into the iron. The result was a steel with an unusually high carbon content and a unique internal structure. These ingots traveled by caravan and ship to the Middle East, where master swordsmiths in Persia and Syria forged them into blades. But they didn't just hammer them into shape. They coaxed them. They knew that heating the steel too hot would ruin it, that it had to be worked at just the right temperature, folded and hammered with patient skill. The forging revealed those telltale rippling patterns, the watered look, and gave the steel its unmatched combination of hardness and flexibility. In the age of the Crusades, these blades became the stuff of European nightmares. Accounts tell of Saracen swords that could cut through a knight's mail or slice a silk scarf mid-air. Were these exaggerations born of fear? Perhaps, but archaeology and metallurgy confirm Damascus steel was leagues ahead of the average medieval European blade. The patterns themselves added to the mystique. Waves, swirls, and ripples danced along the metal, no two blades exactly alike. They looked like rivers of silver frozen in motion, like something forged not by man, but by nature itself. But here's the heart of the mystery. By the mid-18th century, the true process of making Damascus steel disappeared. Theories abound about why. Some say the supply of Wootz steel dried up when trade routes shifted, and political upheavals cut off the flow from India. Others suspect that the ore itself, mined from specific regions, had trace elements, vanadium, tungsten, or others, that gave the steel its unique properties. When those mines were exhausted, the magic could no longer be repeated. Another theory is more subtle, that the knowledge itself, passed from master to apprentice, simply faded. Imagine a line of craftsmen stretching back generations, each adding to a shared craft. Then imagine war, famine, or changing tastes in weapons breaking that chain. The secrets die not with a bang, but with a whisper. Today, metallurgists have studied surviving Damascus blades under microscopes. Some have found microscopic carbon nanotubes within the steel, an astonishing result that suggests ancient smiths, without knowing it, were manipulating matter on a nanoscale. These structures might explain the steel's incredible strength and resilience. But here's the thing. Even with this knowledge, modern attempts to recreate true Damascus steel have fallen short. We can mimic the patterns. We can make beautiful pattern-welded blades. But the exact combination of properties in the originals? That still eludes us. And so Damascus steel sits at a strange crossroads between history and myth. Was it truly so sharp it could split a falling hair? Or is that a romantic flourish added by storytellers? What we know for certain is that warriors prized it. Craftsmen guarded its secrets fiercely, and when it was gone, the world felt the loss. Think of the battles it must have seen. A lone rider beneath a red desert sun, his blade flashing as he cuts through the enemy's line. A crusader, shocked as his own sword shatters under a single stroke. A noble presenting such a blade as a gift, knowing it would be treasured for generations. And think of the forges, the heat, the sparks, the ringing of the hammer on metal. The blacksmith, eyes narrowed against the glare, turning the blade slowly, reading the play of light on its surface, waiting for the moment when the hidden river in the steel reveals itself. There's something deeply human about this story. The idea that skill passed from hand to hand can be lost. That perfection can slip through our fingers, leaving only artifacts and questions behind. We live in an age where we assume technology only moves forward. But Damascus steel reminds us, sometimes, the past held knowledge we can't easily reclaim. When I picture one of those ancient blades, I think about the hands that made it. How many years it took to learn the right heat, the right strike, the right way to quench it so it would not crack. I wonder if those smiths knew they were making something that would outlast them by centuries. And I wonder if they would be amused that, hundreds of years later, scientists with scanning electron microscopes are still trying to catch up to them. The story of Damascus steel is also a story about beauty. These weren't crude tools, they were works of art. The patterns weren't just chance, they were coaxed into being. Some blades had patterns like ladders, others like roses, others like running water. Each one was as individual as a fingerprint. Warriors carried them not only because they were deadly, but because they were beautiful. And maybe that's the real reason they've never left our imagination. Today, the term Damascus steel is often used for modern blades with patterned surfaces. But these are usually made by welding layers of different steels together, folding and twisting them to create swirls. They can be gorgeous, but they are not the same as the legendary original. Those belong to another age. In a way, Damascus steel is like the Library of Alexandria, a piece of human achievement lost to time, leaving us with only fragments and wonder. And like that library, it leaves us with questions that may never be answered. Was there a single true formula, or did each master have his own variation? Did the patterns in the steel emerge purely from the metal, or did the smiths learn to control and shape them? Did they understand the science of what they were making, or was it a craft honed entirely by experience and intuition? We may never know. But here's what we do know. When you hold a surviving Damascus blade, you're holding a link across centuries. The same steel that rang beneath a hammer in a smoky workshop in Persia or Syria, that gleamed in the desert sun, that perhaps decided the fate of a man in battle. It is a reminder of the heights human skill can reach, and of how fragile that knowledge can be. And maybe that's why the story of Damascus steel lingers, because it's not just about metal, it's about mastery, about the pursuit of perfection, and about the bittersweet truth that even the greatest achievements can be lost. So the next time you hear the hiss of a blade leaving its sheath in a movie, or see the flash of steel in a museum case, think of those rippling patterns, think of the hands that made them, and the battles they saw. And think about what it means that we, with all our modern tools, are still chasing the ghosts of those ancient forges. Thank you for walking with me through this chapter of history's shadowed pages. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If the exact process of making true Damascus steel were rediscovered today, should it be revived as a craft or left as one of history's most beautiful mysteries? Share your ideas in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps to keep these stories alive.